Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. I know, exams are just around the corner, but you don't need to worry one bit. We're going to revise this whole chapter together, and I promise you'll remember everything. So, as it says, absolutely no tension. Today, we're going to learn about Earth's greatest artists. And no, I'm not talking about painters or singers. I'm talking about the mighty forces that have been shaping our world for millions of years. And hey, if you find this useful, do hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments which chapter you want me to cover next. Okay, let's think about this for a second. Have you ever been on a family trip, maybe to the mountains up north or to a beach in Goa, and you see this huge valley or a beautiful coastline, and you just wonder, wow, who made this? Did it just appear out of nowhere? Well, the answer is a big no. It was sculpted, it was carved, and it was built. But the question is, by whom? And the answer is these guys, geomorphic agents. Oof, what a big, complicated word, right? But the idea is so simple. Just think of them as nature's very own super artists. They're the powerful forces like the running water in our rivers, the strong winds in the desert, and of course the massive glaciers in the Himalayas. They are working 24/7, constantly shaping and reshaping our Earth. Now these artists, they have two main superpowers, or you can say two main tools. First is erosion. This is the tearing down power. It's like a sculptor, chipping away at a big block of rock. The second superpower is deposition, which is the building up power. This is when the artist adds new material, like clay, to create something new. Tearing down and building up. You have to remember this. It's very important for the whole chapter. So let's meet our first and probably the most powerful artist, running water. I like to call it the master carver. You know, from the smallest little stream to our mighty river Ganga, water is constantly carving up the land. You see, when a river is young and full of energy, it flows really fast, cutting deep into the land and carving out these V-shaped valleys. Now look here, you can see two types. On the left, we have a gorge, like this one on the Kaveri River. See how steep and almost straight the sides are? And on the right, that's a canyon. It's also deep, but its sides are like steps. So the main difference to remember for your exam is a gorge has straight sides and a canyon has step-like sides. Simple. Okay, so what happens when the river gets a bit older and reaches the flat plains? Well, it gets a bit lazy, and it starts to flow in this curvy, snake-like path we call a meander. Just look at the drawing. Over many years, these loops get closer and closer together. Then one day, maybe during a flood, the river gets tired of the long path and just takes a shortcut, straight across. And what about the old loop? It gets left behind, all by itself, forming this beautiful U-shaped lake. And we call that an Oxbow lake. Now, what about deposition? After carving all that land and carrying all that mud and sand, what happens when the river finally meets the sea? It gets really slow, it's tired, and it drops everything it was carrying. All this material builds up and creates these huge fan-shaped lands called deltas. Look at this satellite image of the Krishna River Delta. All of this new land was built by the river bit by bit. Amazing, isn't it? Okay, time for a quick exam-style question. Let's see who was paying attention. A deep valley with steep, step-like side slopes is known as, is it A, U-shaped valley, B, gorge, C, blind valley, or D, canyon? Think about it. What was the key word?
And the answer is, of course, D, canyon. Simple, Henna. The key word was step-like. Just remember, gorges have straight sides, canyons have step-like sides. Here's a little extra tip for you. Canyons are usually wider at the top than they are at the bottom.
All right, we've seen the powerful river that works out in the open. Now let's meet our next artist, one who works in secret, deep underground. This is groundwater, and I call it the secret artist. You can't see it working, but trust me, its creations are absolutely magical. Now, this secret artist's favorite thing to work with is a soft rock called limestone. But it doesn't use force to break the rock. No, it uses chemistry. The water slowly dissolves the limestone, kind of like how a sugar cube dissolves in water. This creates a special landscape called Karst topography. On the surface, you might see these holes called sinkholes, but the real magic is happening below ground, where it creates a whole new world of stunning caves. And inside these magical caves, you'll find two amazing structures: stalactites, which hang down from the ceiling, and stalagmites, which grow up from the ground. Now, how are you going to remember which is which for the exam? Don't worry, I have a super simple trick. Stalactites hold tight to the ceiling. See? T for top. And stalagmites might grow up to reach the ceiling from the ground. G for ground. Easy peasy. All right, from the secret world beneath our feet, let's take a trip to the high, cold mountains and meet our third artist, the mighty Glacier. You have to imagine it's like a giant, slow-moving bulldozer, but made entirely of ice. It moves super slowly, but it's incredibly powerful. So this giant ice bulldozer carves the mountains into all sorts of amazing shapes. Look at this picture. It creates these armchair-shaped hollows called cirques. When two glaciers carve a ridge from opposite sides, they form a sharp, almost knife-like ridge called an arête. And when several glaciers carve a mountain from all sides, they create a super sharp peak called a horn. And here's a fun fact for you. The world's highest peak, our Mount Everest, is actually a horn. Okay, my children, pay attention. This is a classic exam question. They love to ask this. What's the difference between a river valley and a glacial valley? It's all about the shape. A river cuts down deep, creating a sharp V-shaped valley. But a glacier is wide and heavy, so it scrapes the whole valley floor, creating a wide U-shaped valley. Just remember, V for river, U for glacier. Got it? Perfect. So what happens when this giant ice bulldozer starts to melt? Well, it leaves behind all the rocks, dirt, and debris it was pushing along. These piles of glacial garbage are called moraines. If the debris is dropped at the end or the terminus of the glacier, it's a terminal moraine. If it's along the sides, it's a lateral moraine. And if two glaciers merge, they form a moraine in the middle, called a medial moraine. Phew, enough of the cold mountains, right? Let's all go to the beach. Because our next artist is one that never gets tired, it's always dancing, it's the waves, the coastal shaper. Now, waves have both superpowers we talked about. They erode by constantly crashing against the rocks, creating steep sea cliffs, digging out sea caves, and sometimes leaving behind lonely pillars of rock called sea stacks. But they also have a creative side. They deposit sand to give us the beautiful beaches we all love to visit, and the sand dunes you see behind them. Here's a cool fact for you. The west coast of India is mostly erosional, while the east coast is mostly depositional. And for our fifth and final artist, we're traveling from the noisy coast to the quiet, hot, and dry deserts. Maybe think of Rajasthan. Here, the main artist at work is the wind, and we can call it the desert designer. And what is the most famous creation of the wind? Sand dunes, of course. The wind is like a sculptor that uses sand as its clay. It blows the sand around and piles it up into these huge hills of different shapes. As you can see in the diagram, you can get these crescent-shaped dunes called barchans, or these long, straight ridges called longitudinal dunes. The shape just depends on how much sand is available and which way the wind is blowing. Okay, everybody, let's do a super quick, rapid-fire recap for your exam. Are you ready? Running water gives us V-shaped valleys and deltas. Groundwater creates caves and stalactites. Glaciers carve U-shaped valleys and leave moraines. Waves make our beaches and sea cliffs. And finally, wind designs sand dunes and mushroom rocks. Quick, take a screenshot of this slide. It's the perfect note for your last-minute revision. There's a beautiful saying that goes, "The earth has music for those who listen." After today's session, I hope you can not only listen to that music, but also see the great artists who are creating it all around us. All the very, very best for your exams, my dear children. I know you are all going to do wonderfully. So, I'll leave you with one final thought, a little fun homework for you. The next time you're traveling, maybe in a train or a car, just look out the window. Look at the hills, the valleys, the plains, and ask yourself, which of nature's great artists has been at work here? Was it the master carver, the secret artist, or maybe the desert designer? Let me know what you spot in the comments below. And please, share this with your friends who might need it. Bye-bye for now.